competition, we would see more insurance products at cheaper prices, and people could buy what they want. The level of health insurance. Something else we can do that currently isn't being done, we can allow for associated health care plans, where let's say realtors, for instance, who are in essence are self-employed, realtors could all band together like a credit union does, and they could pool together and use that purchasing power to purchase a health insurance policy, and again bring the cost down for their members. If they want a high deductible, then we can offer people tax-free savings accounts. So if you have a high deductible, let's say, you'd have a tax-free account, you put your own money in that account, you can draw your own money out, you can pay for your high deductible, but also you can pay your co-pays. You can pay going to the dentist. You can pay going to the eye doctor, getting a hearing aid. In other words, giving you the power. Think of it as like a backpack that you would put on. And it's your health care, and you make the decision about how much you want. The very first bill that I introduced when I went to Congress was the Health Care Freedom of Choice Act. This idea has been around a long time, and I think it merits favor, because what we want to do is level the playing field in the tax code. We want people to be able to have the same advantage to buy their own health insurance that businesses have. Businesses can fully deduct the cost of health care, but individuals can't. I believe you should have the right to fully deduct your health insurance premiums, your co-pays, your deductible, whether you go to the dentist or the eye doctor or get a hearing aid, you should be able to deduct that on your income tax. And I think we can make health care affordable for the vast bulk of people. Not everyone will ever be able to buy health care. There will always be a cohort of people, through no fault of their own, who just can't. They're profoundly disabled. They have extraordinary medical conditions. We are a compassionate society. We will always have that safety net. We have to for people who need that. But let's not destroy what truly is the greatest healthcare system the world has ever known. Dr. Burgess has been a member of Congress since 2003. He's been a great fighter, and he's been bringing together Republicans and Democrats on true health care debate and reform. He's a great bipartisan leader, and best of all, Dr. Burgess was born in Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic, where his father was a physician. We're just trying to figure out why he ever left. But he's a representative of Congress representing the Dallas-Fort Worth area from Texas's 26th district. Please give him a warm welcome, Dr.
Context here. I do get questioned a lot of times as to whether I should be called doctor or congressman. As there are any doctors in the audience, you know we have about a 78% popularity level. Of course, members of Congress are down. So Mother always called me doctor, and that still works for me. In the interest of full disclosure, I spent the last year really intimately involved with this. First as an advisor to Senator McCain, and then a surrogate on the McCain campaign. I got to know Senator McCain's health proposal pretty well, became very facile with discussing it. Might even be argued I knew it better than he did. In fact, if he'd let me do that last debate, who knows? But I also got to know President Obama's surrogates, and I got to know his health care proposals fairly well as well. And I feel as if I ended the presidential campaign with uniquely situated, if you will, knowing pretty much both sides of the argument. Now, I will tell you, Max Baucus, right at the end of October last year, chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, convened a group of stakeholders. You know, there's stakeholders if they're on your side, there's special interests if they're on the others. But he got a group of stakeholders together over at the Library of Congress, produced a white paper, and I thought for all the world that was the bill that we were going to see. Because President Obama won the election in November, he was inaugurated in January with the highest popularity that any president has ever had. And I naturally assumed, based on what I had heard during the fall, that President Obama's program would quickly be before us in Congress. So I was startled, to say the least, that we did not see that in February. We spent a lot of political capital, or someone spent a lot of political capital on the stimulus bill. We worked on some other things through the spring. We did cap and trade in the early summer, which had some negative connotations for some other people. And then as a consequence, when we got down to health care in July, it became much more problematic. In a way, that's a good thing, because this summer, just as Michelle has demonstrated for us today, participatory democracy is alive and well and works in America. And for that, I am very grateful, regardless of where anyone stands on this issue. The fact that we slowed it down, and I say we, this was not a Republican effort to slow it down. This was actually internal arguments within the Democratic Party. The Republicans don't have the numbers, really, to do much of anything as far as if Nancy Pelosi wants to pass this bill, it's passed through the House, just as she did with cap and trade. But it did slow down. And as a consequence of slowing down, people have had an opportunity to look at it in a great deal more detail than otherwise would have been possible had we rushed it through on the 1st of August, as was the intention. Now, we'll get back to Washington in September, the week after Labor Day. It's anyone's guess as to what happens on the House side. A lot is going to depend on what members of my party, what members of the Democratic Party have heard from their constituents back home. Will there be the institutional courage to pass H.R. 3200 as written, or will there be changes? Will we go back to the drawing board and try to make some real improvements on the bill? I don't know the answer to that. We passed the bill out of our committee July 31st, which was the last day we were up in Washington. It was relatively late in the evening, so I don't know if many of you were watching. For the record, I did vote against it, so I can say that unless it changes substantially, you can expect the same vote out of me when we convene in September. However, the chairman of my committee, Henry Waxman, we don't always see eye to eye on things, but the chairman committed to coming back and having one more day to consider some of the amendments that were left on the desk. And we did have a lot of amendments left on the desk. So we will come back and consider additional amendments. How those get wrapped into the final bill, I don't know, because that's sort of a different and new process. All three committees that consider this bill on the House side, this product will have to be condensed and put into a single product. It will have to be rescored by the Congressional Budget Office, and then we've got to wait on what the Senate does. And the Senate has taken a little bit more bipartisan approach to this, but remember, it was almost a year ago that Max Baucus produced this white paper, and they still have not got a bill to bring before their committee to go through a markup. So at some point, does the White House put pressure on Max Baucus? Does Max Baucus give in to the three Republicans who he's still talking to in the Senate? I don't know. I don't know. It remains to be seen. We can talk about reconciliation during the Q&A if someone has an interest in that, but that's another issue that's out there. And ultimately, the president said he wants to sign this bill his first year of his first term. I don't know whether that's practically possible or not. I would never have believed that we would have gone home in August without having a floor vote. I thought that was a foregone conclusion. I really thought we would see a bill in February or March when the president's popularity was still sky high. Some of that popularity has dwindled over the past several months. So in any case, I'm very happy to be here with you today. I appreciate so much the involvement, and again, participatory democracy, alive and well in America, and that's fundamentally a good thing. Thank you very much. During the presidential debates last fall, Medicare Advantage was the one thing that was consistently singled out by President Obama as a federal program that he would cut. It's listed in the Congressional Budget Office for as $170 billion in savings over the 10-year budget window that they were looking at on this bill. So I don't know, but it does look as if Medicare Advantage will be significantly structurally changed. Now, you do also hear a lot of talk about places like the Mayo Clinic, places like Geisinger Clinic.